I don't know if we did an intro, did we? We just like went
No,
straight
should we do
in.
it now?
Maybe.
What should we say?
Or should we just not bother? Just go straight into it.
Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe this should be the intro. Cut. It would be What It's Worth for me, the hardest one to play live. It's a different experience playing the songs live because you're trying to perform them. Technique and all that kind of stuff has to be like just secondary basically. And on that one, that's the one moment in the entire set where I'm like, it's just me, isolated, me and Steph.
Only the saints will die.
If I mess like one note, it's just like catastrophe, absolute catastrophe, because it just sounds like so bad. And it happened like once or twice, I think.
No, just once.
Did it happen once?
Literally just once.
And it was just, it's like pink, like a really stretchy chord, pinky, and it was just like the pinky doesn't quite land. It just goes burp. It is then echoed through reverb and delay. And it's like burp, 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 burp. Just like a, you know when you mess up on Guitar Hero and it has that clink, like that sound, it's like that. But then the hardest song to record in the studio is a different story because
you're not worried about performing
you're
it.
not really worried about performing it, you're just worried about getting the best
sure.
take you can possibly get, whereas live you've got one chance. So yeah, the hardest thing to do in the studio is probably for me, Time to Waste actually.
Getting it really grooving.
Yeah, it's always the ones that just require a real focus on the groove and the feel.
Yeah.
Like they're always just the ones where you listen to them back over and over again and you're like, is it enough? Like are we kind of tight enough? Is it grooving enough?
Yeah.
What about you?
So live, I guess especially with the last tour that we've done, I would say it's probably a tie between Make Me and Time to Waste, which ironically were like the first two songs in the set. Make Me, mainly from like a melodic point of view. Some of the melody lines, the key change in the chorus, some of the interval jumps just go a little bit skewed and it's quite easy for it to sound a bit shit. And then Time to Waste, mainly just for the chorus. Just getting that like ascending line at the chorus and getting like the top notes to be like in a good place, I feel like is a bit of a challenge live. Again, like in the studio I don't feel like that was really a challenge, but I think live, yeah, maybe the tendency like when you're performing it and when you kind of in the moment, the tendency to like overdo it I think is a bit stronger.
Not only that, when you're in the studio you have a lot, because you're spending a lot of time on one song, you're doing it over and over and over again, you kind of have a lot of time to find that place where you're comfortable and then you stay in that place for the whole song. Like at least for me, doing the backing vocals live, the hardest ones are where like, okay, I feel like I'm in this place for this song, and then the next song I need to be in a completely different place, and it's like doing a bit of a,
it's all quite jumpy,
especially for BVs, because I need to try and blend a lot with you, so it's very much about like just, it's not really about sounding great, it's about being a chameleon and just trying to blend as well as I can.
In the studio, I'm not actually sure, like I feel like it was so long ago now, I can't even remember which one was the most annoying one.
I mean, there's always a breakdown at some point in the studio.
Yeah, but which one was it?
Was it not What It's Worth?
Remember.
Was it not What It's Worth?
Maybe it was What It's Worth. I think that was because that was the newest one. I kind of hadn't really found where it was living, which is really interesting because I feel like when I listen back to the recording now, I'm like really happy with how that one came out like vocally, but I think actually because that one's like more in my lower range, yeah, it was like a little bit weird to figure out like where it wanted to be. The other thing was that came to mind was So You Say. I like spent ages on that like before I went to the studio just trying to like get that chorus. That felt like it took a while. Yeah. So that one probably sticks out, but thankfully we haven't done that live yet, so that probably would be the one that would be the hardest. Jordan, I was like, what's the most difficult song to play live? Left to Wreck. That's not even from the right album, mate. What are you doing? Right, okay. Well,
I suppose it still applies.
What would Alex say? Alex would probably say Halcyon or What It's Worth.
No, I think, like I say, it's always the ones that require a very specific tempo and a very specific feel.
Right.
Like there's some songs where, like for example, like Make Me or something.
Yeah.
Like because it's quite high energy, high tempo, you can play it a bit faster and it's like, well, let's go. Like Time to Waste, if you play that too slow or too fast or it's not quite swung enough.
Yeah.
The reference song, by the way, for Time to Waste in terms of the groove is a song called Bright Lights by Gary Clark Jr. That is kind of the feel.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the feel you want to aim for.
You gonna know my name.
Would you say Time to Waste would be the hardest one for Alex?
I think the ones that maybe vary the most, it's possibly my fault as well because I start the song off. So it's probably Time to Waste, I would say. I mean, Halcyon's just a bit
like
of a
just
roast
the drum
anyway.
intro, and obviously that middle bit, I don't know.
Either that or What It's Worth. So I would say one of those three. It's hard to pick one because they're all hard
Alex
for
is
different
probably going to
reasons.
say something completely different.
The first one that comes to mind is Halcyon. It wasn't really a massive direction change, but I remember in terms of arrangement and parts. In the second verse, in the second half of that verse, we kind of tried to switch it up, like switch the feel. The feel went to more of like an eighth note kind of thing on the drums. I remember Chris like sat in the chair and he heard it and he was just like, you know, and like your ears, it just perks your ears up, but like not quite for like the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, that was a bit. Don't know why that's there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the answer is always to take stuff away.
In the words of Rick Rubin, what can you remove?
Is it? Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right,
what are the unnecessary parts?
That's it. It's getting rid of the fluff, trim the fat.
The other thing that I was thinking about is Erase It Obscura, because that intro obviously changed quite significantly.
So the very first demo was like me just playing the guitar part.
Yeah.
And it had a completely different drum groove over it.
Was it not the same as the verse?
No. The drum groove was the same as the outro. That was the drum groove, but like pretty much for the entire song. And it was just a bit like overkill.
And simplified it quite a bit.
Simplified it and just brought it back to like kind of a steady.
Yeah. It was the same as What It's Worth as well. The drum groove in the verse for that. That got simplified quite a bit.
Yeah, because the drum groove for that was just the
same as the intro.
The same as the intro.
Yeah.
I mean, in the recording process, stuff like So You Say, for example, like the chorus in that song was a lot heavier, like in the demo. And then in the studio, we had the acoustic. It just turned it into a more ballady, epic feel. As soon as you hear the kind of jangly the Goo Goo Dolls acoustic, that's kind of it. Like it just turns it into that.
Yeah.
Which I liked, but it did change the vibe because I was expecting it to be like a big, like really heavy kind of guitar chord thing, and then the acoustic kind of just makes it like
softens it,
just brings it back down a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I do enjoy. First started writing songs for the album, I was listening to a lot of Sting.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of classic artists and bands that for some reason I just haven't done the deep dive on yet. Why haven't I listened to like the entire like The Police or Sting back catalogue? Because you're a musician, you just know these names are so influential to people.
And it's not like you don't know some songs, but like you say, you just haven't.
Yeah, you haven't done the deep dive. You haven't like, well,
yeah.
I'll listen to like. So obviously listen to all the Police stuff and all the Sting's back catalogue, and like found a lot of like what I consider to be hidden gems. And inevitably, anything you listen to just kind of like through osmosis, just like seeps into your writing process, I guess. So that was for me like a big
Madison
Sting thing.
Cunningham.
Madison Cunningham. A lot of softer stuff, like a lot of stuff where the harmony's just so interesting. But then you've got stuff like your old favourites, like Soundgarden, Queens of the Stone Age, which are just mainstays. Like I always listen to them.
I think we got quite into the Tiger Cub album as well. Blues Indigo.
Yeah, Blues Indigo. Yeah,
one that was kind of on rotation during the writing process as well. Andrew says, "Saw you for the first time in Bristol and excited to see you in Cheltenham. Are you excited to see me?"
We saw you.
Of course.
And we were excited.
Thank you so much for coming down. For anyone who came down to our last tour, any of the live shows that we've done, it really, really means so much. It's awesome to see, obviously, kind of so many of you.
What show did you come and see?
Let us know.
Let me know. And what was your favourite song that we played?
Yeah.
Let me know.
So, I mean, obvious one would be ahead of Arctangent next year. Carnival.
Yeah, Carnival. Carnival would be sick.
That's I mean an obvious one. I think also like just to add into that question, I think one of the things that you kind of often overlook as well is just like the hangs. We recently had a tour with Future Static. Shout out those guys. That was just super fun. So I think it could even be like a band that you musically maybe aren't that similar to, but like if they're just super sound, really cool people, then that makes it really fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Ultimate dreamboat like support band for me would be Queens of Stone Age. Those guys along with Soundgarden for me have been literally the soundtrack of my
life.
Pretty much entire life.
Yeah.
Like literally from hearing my mum and dad listen to them in the car when I was like on my way to primary school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To now being like, yeah, that would just be insane. Like absolutely Wayne's World when I see them, like just on my knees, like we're not worthy. It would just be like that. I don't know if I could contain myself. Curveball, Big Wreck.
Oh, that is it. Yeah, that's a really good
Big
point,
Wreck would
actually.
be sick. I would love to support Big Wreck, tour with Big Wreck.
/ when are they coming to the UK?
Yeah, I know. Big Wreck. If anyone from Big Wreck is watching, just so happens, just get yourself to the UK, man. We'll support you. We'll take you to all the best food places.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, all that matters, really.
Yeah. That is the main point of a tour, really, is touring
the UK's food.
UK's food options and rating places based on where has the best food.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Where has the best food?
Oh.
This wasn't the question that was asked.
Newcastle's always great. There's so many great places in Newcastle. Bristol was really good. Brighton, of course. It was probably top 3.
It changes regularly because the cliche answer is that they're all our children.
Yes.
Musical babies.
And
but
we love them all equally.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
However, if they were all lined up and I had to kill a few of them, what would it come down to? I think
That got dark real quick.
it did get dark, actually, didn't it? Gun to my head. What would I choose? Time to Waste. Time to Waste is always going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I remember coming up with a riff. To quote Jacob Collier, he was like, if you had a tier list in terms of like ideas and riffs, you've got like gold, silver, and bronze. Time to Waste. As soon as I came up with a riff, I was like, this is some gold. Immediate. I was like, this is as good a riff as I can come up with right now. So not that the song's all about the riff.
I would say same. It kind of changes, but probably one that's been my favourite for the longest, I would say probably Use On You.
I know Alex, his favourite Silhouettes. And I remember, to be honest, like when I showed the guys that song, it kind of had a similar vibe to Past the Peak. I remember like on the first album, I showed Alex the demo for Past the Peak and he was like, where has this come from?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
'Cause it was not like nothing else we'd written before. And that was exactly the same with Silhouettes.
Yeah,
it was
I agree.
like such a
And I think it's quite interesting because from my point of view, like when we wrote Silhouettes, I was just like, is this good? And then Alex obviously like replied with me like, this is the best thing ever, and I was just like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. Because you never really know. Like, I think it's hard kind of locking yourself away in a room, and sometimes just us two that's like heard the song pretty much. Thanks so much for watching our album Q&A. If you haven't already, go have a listen to the album. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Physical copies are available via Church Road Records. You can find a very, very snazzy blue and grey splatter vinyl. The most beautiful vinyl you will ever see, and also CDs you can find there. Thanks so much again for watching.
Bye.